have your cultures that dictate to you that stealing public funds is bad. I don't think you would want to go that direction. And that conviction has to start from somewhere. Okay. So apart from the hardware that we need to implement, and which has been constantly the message that has been given to Kenyans, I think we also need to work on our software, which means that we must accept that for this country to develop, even if these challenges were in the agrarian Europe, and there were radical proposals that were happening at those times, I think that we have an opportunity as Kenyans and as a generation to come together and at least agree that corruption has dented the image of Kenya in the community of nations. If you go to a country like Ethiopia and you take a taxi and then you ask you ask the taxi driver, what do you know about Kenya? Most probably they will tell you, tumesikia kuna corruption sana. Okay. So in this case, I think that the institutions need to be more proactive. They need to work towards finishing this vice. And that is what they are paid for. Okay.
And the political goodwill should also be there. Let's shift focus to the mountain. Professor Kagwanja, so many questions around Speaker Justin Muturi. Is there a division between the East and the West, or is it just between the politicians and the populace is as united as ever? So let's begin at this point. Would you believe that Speaker Justin Muturi is his own man? And what do you tell those who perceive that he's he's the handshake compromise project? We've had such juggernauts, such words being thrown about. What say you?
First and foremost, for the purpose of no conflict of interest, say that I'm a friend of Muturi for the last 30 or so years. We come from the same school. Both Muturi and I went to Kangaroo High School.
Same thing here.
And we've been colleagues for very many years, both within the PNU under President Kibaki and also under President Uhuru Kenyatta. So we know each other very well. Okay. And therefore it's not a surprise that I'm working with him. And I'm not working with him because of anything. I'm also intending to join politics in Murang'a, and soliciting Gojiri's vote when that time comes. That said, I think with that background, Muturi is his own man. He is his own man. In fact, he's a very reluctant hero, one must put that way. Because were he not dragged by the elders from his hiding and reminded that he is number 3 in the nation after the president and deputy president, he's the next in line, and that in the legion, the mountain legion, he's number 2 after the president, he would not have realized what kind of power he wields. He's a very shy, person who basically is very, very morally astute in terms of the way he approaches life. You've never had him with a scandal, and those who are his colleagues in parliament will tell him that, tell you that it's no problem. He shies from approaching. If you go to him, he'll do that. So I think the Mountain Legion, and I'm not promoting him here, required those kind of skills, the skills of being, a mediator. Why? Because we have so many entrepreneurs, political entrepreneurs in the region. Those who want to be number 2 to William Ruto, want to be number 2 to Raila Odinga, want to be number 2 to Musalia Mudavadi, and so on. But the big question is, and that which we're asking, is what is the future of the region? Is this a second fiddle to everyone? I don't think so. 8.2 million votes by next year, 10.2 million votes by next year approximately cannot be taken for granted. So it is a way of weaving the basket from below. And as they say, all politics is local. And Muturi did not start from the mountain. He started from his own Kanyuambora place in Embu, and has walked the path up until where he has reached. Until now, he's confident to say that he's a contender to power at the top level. What does that mean? That Kenya has a reason, has an opportunity. Other leaders in Kenya has an opportunity to negotiate and reshape the social contract that Kenya is with the genuine leadership from the region. If you go for there and seek political entrepreneurs, those who are parading their betters and catwalking in order to be, to be noticed and picked, like with the way we pick models, it's not going to help our region. It's not about one seat, that whether it's the president, deputy president, or prime minister. It's about the people, approximately 10.2 million voters from the region. That's what this is all about. Okay. So I think with Muturi, the country can sleep calmly, in the sense that whether it is Deputy President William Ruto, Prime Minister Raila Odinga, or anybody else, you have somebody to negotiate with about the future of Kenya, rather than treating Mount Kenya region as a wild west where you go hunting.
Perhaps let me ask you.
It's not a hunting ground.
Okay. Next logical question would be, why the coronation route, and what impact does this have in the current political landscape? Why go the coronation way, first of all?
No, Muturi is very modern and very, very, very cosmopolitan in terms of his thinking. Those who read books like we do, you must be familiar with an author called Antonio Gramsci. He's one of the most respected Italian thinker. And he talked about cultural hegemony. When the country goes amok, when people can never think straight, they only think about stealing and pocketing national wealth. The only thing that can bring moral order back to nature, to a country, is culture. You go back to your morals. You go back to the elders. You go back to the teachers of the word. That's why they took Jesus to the church. That's why they took Muhammad to the elders. So that you are honed and you are educated on the good things about your society. I think that's where the elders in Mount Kenya were saying, we know we have a great leader in Uhuru Kenyatta. We have had a great leader in Kibaki. We have had a great leader in Moi. We had a great leader in Jomo Kenyatta. But it is time to think about reminding our leaders that morals matter. Uprightness matter. So it's not about development. It's about moral astuteness, so that you can share what you have, so that you can preserve and use what you have for the betterment of the people. So one is really looking for a moral nation, and that's what I see in what Muturi is doing, a moral nation. When he talks about discipline, when he talks about order, when he talks about integrity, we are talking about bringing the country to its core foundation of morality, of caring for each other, of minding other people's opinion. And in that context, then, you are able to draw a social contract that is sustainable, and that will give us a sustainable economy, not an economy of thieves, not an economy of robbers.
Okay, that's interesting. I want to hear what Dr. Pamela has to say, because your party right now, perhaps there's still ongoing talks on the Jubilee merger, and a key area of interest would be the Central Kenya votes, what Professor is terming as roughly over 10 million approximately come the 2022 general election. Do you think this might be a wild card to sort of stir the waters in terms of support for one Mr. Raila Odinga in the Central Kenya region? What's your take on this? How do you look at it, Pamela? Well, kindly unmute, if possible.
Sorry, I keep forgetting to unmute.
No problem.
I'm assuming I'm at the studio. Sorry. So allow me to appreciate Professor for what he has just said. And I don't know when this will be, but I'm praying that one day you will give me a chance, sooner or later, but very soon, to download something that God has been telling me about Mount Kenya. This is not told to me by Muturi or Professor or our President Uhuru Kenyatta, but from God, and I mean from God. So please one of these days find favor, give me favor and give me a chance to speak to this nation and tell them about this idea that God has. Now, having said that, I think Mount Kenya region, as popularly known, it is part of Kenya, and they are people of Kenya, and they are voters. And allow me also to appreciate my boss at the National Assembly, who is the Speaker, Justin Muturi, for his boldness to come out and display to Kenyans what he thinks or what he believes he is capable of doing for this nation. And to me, that is the indication of the so-called democratic space that my party leader, Raila Amolo Odinga, and others have fought for all these years. So, first and foremost, allow me to say that from a personal perspective, I think it is okay that Justin Muturi would want to try himself as the president of this country. Number two, even from my party perspective, I still think that he has the democratic right and to bring up himself. Just like me, I woke up at some stage in Migori and I told them I would want to be a leader in this capacity of the women representative. And here I am today. The rest is history. So I think to that extent, I just want to congratulate him. Number two, I think, brother, Professor has said something very critical here. Professor, today I declare you the man of the day. I don't know whether you accept it or not, but he has said that this region has got almost or approximately 10 million voters. And somebody also said earlier, I think it was the same professor, who was saying that this region, after Moi, we had Kibaki, who ruled for 10 years. And now we have had President Uhuru Kenyatta, who has now also ruled for about 10 years. He's concluding his leadership. And so he said, what he said in this very discussion is that as at now, Jubilee, on which President Uhuru got his seat, is no longer going to have a candidate. Why this is so, I am not a member of Jubilee. I may not really say much, but we have seen the one who should have been a Jubilee candidate is claiming to be a UDA candidate, and that confusion. But now he said something that these 10 million voters also want to be part of the negotiation table, even as they go towards 2022. And so Muturi, imagine to want to lead this region, as I heard it from Professor, I've not really spoken to Muturi himself about his presidential ambitions and what is informing me, is that even if they were to negotiate, then there should be a leader of this negotiating team. And therefore, as for me, I don't think if the Mount Kenya region would want to decide to support Raila Amolo Odinga or any other presidential candidate, that Muturi would be starring the region and stop it, these other people from looking for votes from here. Because as a presidential candidate, even Muturi will not only bank on these votes of Mount Kenya region, because there is nowhere it is guaranteed that all these people will vote for him. Much as we appreciate him, like in Parliament where he's leading us, I think my assessment so far has been he's been a good leader of our debates in Parliament, and a good advisor, especially when it comes to interpretation of issues and laws and statements that we may not really understand.
Okay.
He's a profound lawyer, and his understanding of the law is very good. But when it comes to election again, much as we appreciate him here, and much as Professor may think he may be the solution to all the problems affecting the region or the country, there may be some quarter of this very region who may not really want to support him for whatever reason, which are not known to me for now. So to me, I think looping Muturi this early into this conversation and seeing him as a spoiler or as a breaker, let's give him time to explain to Kenyans. Like we said earlier, we all agreed that the cheese has moved. If you are church-going people, I would have seen what I said, Bwana Yesu asifiwe, and you have said amen. There is shifts in the political field. Those days when people did not know what was associated with each political seat have gone. And the younger generation of today, and even the older people who are transformative in nature, are looking for a leader who are themselves at all times. And so the actual truth is that what will finally define who becomes our president in 2022 may be very different from what would define who becomes our president in 1963 or 2007
okay.
or something like that.
Okay.
So I think what I want to say as at now, I'm not surprised, because even the leaders of the coalitions that we were talking about, the truth is all of them want to be presidents. The other day we heard about Mukisa Kitui. The other day, now we are hearing about Muturi. So to me, I want to be open-minded, and even Justin Muturi, sooner or later, he will also look for coalitions from some other corners of this country, because maybe Kenyans who are elite have known him as the Speaker of the National Assembly. But even those Kenyans now may want to know him as the potential president of this country. So then, with that in mind, it is only fair that like any other Kenyan who is interested in this presidential seat, we give Justin Muturi a chance to tell Kenyans really why does he want to be the president of this nation.
All right.
As far as his inauguration by the elders is concerned, I think even me as a young girl, whenever you wanted to do something major in your life, like when I wanted to get married, I walked to my father and mother and I told them, Father, I really appreciate that you have kept me here all this long as your daughter. But now there is this young man I met whom I would like to bring home, and the ultimate goal is to talk and have this man be my husband. I want to move out of your home to go live with him. So what am I saying? Whenever people make major decisions in their lives, it is only nice that you allow your own parents to be part of this. And if they bless it, very good. If they don't agree with it, then you might have to negotiate with them until they give you the okay, because it is always important for every human being to get the blessings of their own parents. So in this regard, I'm struggling to say that there's nothing wrong with Muturi being part of the elders, because he said he wants to be the president. And when he wants to be the president, even those elders are also part of the team that he will be leading. Young people, women like us, will be part of that team. So
all right.
To me, I'm receiving his announcement with an open mind.
Okay.
And that, according to me, I am sure will not destroy anything that if God, the God I'm talking about, meant, say, for Raila Amolo Odinga in the Mount Kenya region or any other candidate.
Okay.
To me, that will not destroy it. And I said earlier, I have a very special message for Mount Kenya region.
And we'll get to discuss that.
What they want to do with it is their problem, but I will relay it at the right time, given the opportunity.
Okay, well noted, Dr. Pamela. Ngunjiri, add your voice to this briefly, perhaps, because it's at a time where perhaps others argue, and you're like-minded as well, that the DP has already made inroads in central Kenya. Do you see this as a way to sort of stamped down on his inroads in the central Kenya region. And what do you make of Muturi presidency, perhaps?
You see, first of all, I think I will be very much waiting with open hands to receive the message that Dr. Pamela has for Mount Kenya region. She has repeated that, I think, for 3 times. So I'm waiting to hear if it's a revelation or otherwise. So I'll be glad to know that. Number 2, I also heard that Professor is getting into the political scene. And people from my hood have always blamed the academia for not wanting to participate in politics because it is dirty. So when I hear people like Professor saying that he will come into the political scene, then I'm motivated because at least we will have diverse and an advanced thinking into issues of country and public affairs. Number 3, I also want to, Professor, congratulate you for being the figure behind Muturi, because we've been seeing you everywhere. You've done quite a good job. However, I think you need, and if I was advising Muturi, I would tell him that it's a strategic blunder to now place demands to the people of the West and tell them that we have supported you for all this time and it is our turn, and so you're supposed to return a hand. That one has brought what now is being called the East versus the West, which indeed is a counterproductive action towards your campaign. If you require all the people to vote for you, then you don't need to have a divide in Mount Kenya. So you have misadvised Muturi on that, and his allies have also made that, not a mistake, but blunder. Number 4, I also think that, and this has been my conviction, that the president of this country will not come out of coronation. I think with the shifting of times, the current nature of present-day politics is highly sophisticated, and issues of public policy that inform the choices that people make at the ballot are on a higher pedestal for elders to decide for the sake of all the people of Mount Kenya region. In as much as I appreciate how these blessings would bring the legitimacy that is required for Muturi, and also the heaven's intervention that is required for Muturi, I think that it doesn't have to stop there. If he is indeed interested in becoming the leader of the Mount Kenya region, he must create a grassroots organizational base that is reaching out to the last man in the last village. However, I end my argument by saying it's a sad state of affairs for Muturi. Unfortunately, and Professor, I know you can reach him, tell him he has to conform. Ground is already on, largely on William Ruto's side. So if he seeks to have an alliance, please gladly ask him to talk to William Ruto, because that is a fact on the ground. And yet, even those that will be coming will come now to see Muturi as a spokesman of elders. So if indeed he also needs to speak on behalf of all people, let him call the young people, women, and all other diverse groups, so that they can also legitimize him as their spokesperson. But currently, he's a spokesperson of elders.
Okay, Professor, I'll give you the final take. Due to constraints of time, kindly give your final submission, sir.
I've never known Gojiri to be such an orator and a good speaker, a very, very good choice of words in terms of articulating the idea he has to be articulated. I think there is no conflict between what Justin Muturi is doing and what Raila Odinga wants in Mount Kenya, or what William Ruto wants in Mount Kenya, or what, because they are all politicians. What they want is the support of the people. I think what Muturi is doing is to go the right way, which is basically to legitimize your power. And illegitimate power is not useful power. What we have had in the Mount Kenya region in the past is what you call seeking illegitimate power. You go to your banker, you withdraw the amount of money you need, and you buy your power. And you disappear from the constituency or from the region for the next 4 or 5 years in order to recoup the money you invested in politics. And that's the culture that this moral movement or moral regeneration movement want to have in the region, where leaders are chosen because the people feel that these are the people who would serve you. I come from Muranga, where we produced the indomitable Dr. Gikonyo Kiano, the indomitable Matiba, Mechuki, I talked about Kamotho, Mwichegi, and Duati Kariuki and others. People who towered not only in the country, but in the county, but also in the country. And I think that's what Muranga is craving for. We want to have the political equivalent of James Mwangi, that we don't just only corporate leaders. We also want to have political leaders who can show direction. We want to have a corporate, a political equivalent of the late Chris Kirubi, the towering height. And I think this is where Muturi need to be taking the people. It's not just about morality, but it's also the prosperity of the people, bringing genuine wealth, clear wealth that is shared. So I don't think he's at war with anybody, but you have a responsibility to keep your house in order. And Mount Kenya region need to be put in order so that it can also partake in the governance of this country as a respected region, not a hunting ground. Currently, we have a problem in turning the region into a hunting ground where every Tom, Dick, and Harry want to come with their arrows and jabok, whatever they want, and stones to hunt for votes. Respect the people of Mount Kenya region. They also have a voice, and that voice is epitomized. It is signified by the Muturi factor.
And the
Muturi factor is going.
The division, Mount Kenya East versus West?
There's no division at all. The fact is that the Mount Kenya region have chosen its leader from one of the smallest. I hope you know, Bere is a distinct ethnic group in Kenya. It was put in the tally of the 2019 census as one of, I think it's either 39th, tribe in Kenya. The Mount Kenya region is made of multiple tribes. I know other Kenyans don't see sense in this. The Embu are distinct, the Merus are distinct, the Beres are distinct people, and the Kikuyus are distinct people. When you talk about Mount Kenya West, you are talking about the Kikuyu, the way you know them. And when you talk about Mount Kenya East, you are talking about their Mau Mau allies in that region. And for over now 70 years, almost 80 years, they have fought together. And prior to that, another thousands of years, they have worked together as a people. Muturi, fortunately, is the region's David, because he comes from the smallest of the tribes. I think the Beres are about 195,000 people, very close to the Sanyes and the Okieks. So we must also begin to respect the minorities in this country. And the Mount Kenya region has no alternative but to begin honoring the fact that the majority and the minorities must have their day. And the Beres also need to have their day.
Well noted. Allow us to end this conversation on that particular note. Professor Peter Kagwanja, thanks for your time, political commentator, and allow me to wish you all the best in your political endeavors. Also joined by Kariuki Ngunjiri, right here, political analyst. Well, you got a pat on the back for your articulation, and I think that's why we bring you over and over again. And always a pleasure to have your input. Dr. Pamela Odhiambo, this time joining us via way of Zoom, where she is the woman rep for Migori County. Always a pleasure to have you with us. Allow us to take a short